So in our previous lesson, we have seen the matter of Kanta. We have come to know about this matter of Kanta in our previous class, and there we have seen that how Kanta she was standing along with many others during the time of casting her vote, and how she was feeling equal there. But after the or towards the end of the day, when she was standing in front of the government hospital with her sick daughter at that time, was she feeling the same equality in her mind? It is not like that, isn't it? So let us read about this equal right to vote. The story above begins with Kanta standing. Just you have to deal with this problem better, because here my book is just made up in such a manner that towards this end I am having some problem to see. The story above begins with Kanta standing in line to cast her vote. Look again at the various people who are standing in the line with her. Kanta recognizes her employer Ashok Jain and Chote Lal, her neighbor. In a democratic country like India, all adults, irrespective of what religion they belong to, how much education they have had, what caste they are, or whether they are rich or poor, are allowed to vote. This, as you have already read in class 6 book, is called universal adult franchise and is an essential aspect in all democracies. So we know that when a human being, he or she attains the age of 18, he or she is known as adult, and at that time he or she just gets the right or the authority to vote. This is known as universal adult franchise. This is the system where people, when they attain the age of 18, they become adult and they can cast their vote. And during the time of that, it is not seen that from which cultural background they are coming, which religion they are practicing, whether they are qualified people or they are totally illiterate, whether they are rich or poor. These things not at all matter during this time of universal adult franchise. And it is one of the essential aspects of all democracies. The idea of universal adult franchise is based on the idea of equality, because it states that every adult in a country, irrespective of their wealth and communities she or he belongs to, has one vote. So during the time of casting vote, it is not seen that the person is coming from which background, what is the financial status of that person. Kanta is excited to vote and happy that she is equal to all of the others, because each of them has one vote. But as her day goes on, Kanta becomes less certain about what this equality really means. During the time of casting vote, she thought that she was equal. But when she was standing in front of that long queue, in front of that government hospital, was she feeling the same? What is it that makes Kanta unsure? Let's take a look at a day in her life. She lives in a slum and has a drain behind her house. Her daughter is sick, but she cannot take the day off from work because she needs to borrow money from her employers to take her child to the doctor. This we have already read and discussed. Her job as a domestic help tires her out, and finally she ends her day by again standing in a long line. This line in front of the government hospital is unlike the one in the morning, because most of the people standing in it are poor. So the morning line, that means the line where people were standing to cast their vote, there people were standing from different financial status. That means many rich people were also standing, and Kanta could find her own employer standing there along with her. But during the time of standing in front of the government hospital, she can find that most of the people who are standing there are poor like her. Other kinds of equality. Kanta is one of many people who live in democratic India and who have the right to vote, but whose daily living and working conditions are far from equal. Apart from being poor, people in India experience inequality in different ways. What are the different ways we will see here? Let us see what this means by reading the two stories given below. Each of these is based on real incidents in people's lives and reflects the different kinds of inequalities that exist in India. One of the more common forms of inequality in India is the caste system. I do hope that you would already know the four different and main caste prevalent in India. Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. This caste system, it was such rigid in our country some years before also. Even it is somewhat rigid still in some of the rural areas or some remote areas still today. It is being practiced in that rigid manner, in that orthodox manner. If you live in rural India, your caste identity is something that you probably learned or experienced very young. When you were young in the rural India, it is just being said to you, or such differences are set up in front of you, or you are discriminated in such a manner that you will come to know that I belong to this caste, that's why either I am getting these privileges or I am getting discriminated in this manner, or I am getting tortured in this manner. So, if you live in urban India, some of you might think that people no longer believe in caste. Yes, in urban areas we think like that, but it is not like the same. It is still deep rooted in our minds. But just look at these matrimonials shown from a leading English newspaper, and you will see how important the issue of caste continues to be in the minds of highly educated urban Indians. If you check these matrimonials in this Ananda Bazar Putrika or this Bartaman or in English newspapers or Hindi newspapers, there you will find that everything is written, and at the end it is written that a Brahmin groom is required, or a Brahmin bridegroom is required, or some sort of that different caste it is prevalent. No. So the groom must be of this caste, the bridegroom must be of this caste. Everything is written there clearly. That means still this caste system, it exists in the minds of so-called educated Indians. Now let us read a story about the experiences of a Dalit child attending school. You have already read about Dalits in class 6 book, in that Ambedkar Rao's story. There we have seen B.R. Ambedkar. So Dalit is a term that the so-called lower castes used to address themselves. We have come to know about this definition there only. There Ambedkar, he has written about the discrimination, or about the tortures, or about the problems which he had to face during his childhood days. And there only we have come to know the meaning of that Dalit. So Dalit means broken. Underline this one. Dalit means broken, and by using this word, lower castes are pointing to how they were and continue to be seriously discriminated against. Om Prakash Balmiki is a famous Dalit writer. In his autobiography Jhutan, he writes, I had to sit away from the others in the class, and that too on the floor. Achha, just say me that from where I need to repeat. Somebody has muted me, I didn't check it. So kindly say me from where I need to repeat. Kindly say me from where I have to repeat. From which para? Oh, Dalit means broken. So Dalit means broken, and by using this word, lower castes, they are pointing to how they were and continue to be seriously discriminated against. Now we will see about Om Prakash Balmiki. Om Prakash Balmiki is a famous Dalit writer. In his autobiography Jhutan, he writes, I had to sit away from the others in the class, and that too on the floor. See, he had to sit on floor. The mat ran out before reaching the spot I sat on. Sometimes I would have to sit way behind everybody, right near the door. Sometimes they would beat me without any reason. When he was in class 4, the headmaster asked Om Prakash to sweep the school and the playground. He writes the playground was way larger than my small physique could handle, and in cleaning it, my back began to ache. My face was covered with dust. Dust had gone inside my mouth. The other children in my class were studying and I was sweeping. Headmaster was sitting in his room and watching me. I was not even allowed to get a drink of water. I swept the whole day. From doors and windows of the schoolrooms, the eyes of the teachers and the boys saw this spectacle. Om Prakash was made to sweep the school and the playground for the next couple of days. And this only came to an end when his father, who happened to be passing by, saw his son sweeping. He confronted the teachers and then walking away from the school holding Om Prakash's hand, he said loudly for all of them to hear, "You are a teacher, so I am leaving now. But remember this much, master. He will study right here in this school, and not just him, but there will be more coming after him." So this is the level of discrimination, height of torture. Just imagine, you were also in class 4 once. Just think, at the time you were not allowed to sit in the class and attend the classes. Even if you were allowed to sit in the class, that was not on the benches but on floor, that also near the door. And once the principal asked you that right now you do one thing, you go and clean the whole school along with the playground. Just think about the playground of your own school and the building of your school. And when you were cleaning, at that time the headmaster is watching how you are doing the work. And your other friends and other teachers, they are also looking at you, the way you are doing the work. Think about this one. Thinking only this will bring tears in your eyes. You will start to weep in your mind that what sort of torture is this one? Highly unpardonable offenses these are. A child of class 4, he has come to read in the school, and the teachers, instead of helping him to study, is asking him to clean the whole school along with the playground. And that time, even when he is feeling thirsty, he is not getting the water to drink. How inhuman these activities are. And that small boy of class 4, he has to just carry on all these orders, and the headmaster is looking at him as if he is appearing for an examination. And it was not the matter of only a day. For a couple of days, this torture went on him. It was only when his father, who happened to pass by that way, saw him sweeping the room, protested. Still see how much dignity or how much respect they are having for the teachers in their mind. That this small boy of class 4, he didn't report at home against the teachers to his parents that my teachers, they are not allowing me to study in the class. Instead, they are asking me to clean the whole playground and the classroom or the whole school. He didn't report it at home. It is only by the grace of God his father has seen the whole incident, and his father protested. That also he said that you are teachers, that's why I am leaving you. But it is a promise from my side that he will study in this school. And not only he, many will study from this school only. And they will show their ability in future. Really, children, this is just beyond our expectation, beyond our thinking, that this sort of tortures used to be practiced in our country. These sort of tortures, these sort of tortures, they were practiced in our country like India. This is height of discrimination, height of inequality, and that also it is done with a boy of class 4. Very bad. So children, give a tick mark over here, and if you are having any query, any problem, anything, you can ask me right now. Roni, might be you don't know, I am coming to you afterwards. Okay, no doubt sir, no doubt, no problem. Okay, thank you. So just wait.